Namaste, and welcome to meditation today. So we're looking at karma yoga, the yoga of action, and looking at what a great blessing this can be in your life. The blessings of karma yoga are beyond measure. You know, at the very basic level, as we strive to lead a life of selfless service, you become a nicer person. But that's the tip of the iceberg, because what happens as you grow in this practice of karma yoga, the rewards are just wonderful. It's a brand new life, a life that's attuned with God and attuned with your own soul. So the rewards are wonderful for the effort made to practice karma yoga. We talked about it last week. You know, karma yoga is selfless service. It's doing the actions that you do in your life without selfish motive. And so I thought I would read this from the Gita. And it says, this is chapter 3, verse 18 of the Gita. For him, and that's the devotee who practices karma yoga, there is in this world no object to acquire. No object to acquire by doing an action. Nor is there any loss by not doing an action. And so very often in our lives, we're motivated by our desires, the things that we do them because we want a result from them. And our results get, the desires get more and more subtle. You know, you might want a big house and a fancy car or a plane and a, motorcycle and all kinds of holidays. And then we get more subtle desires, and we want to be appreciated and valued in life. So whatever the motivation for our action, the yogi would say, that's where to start the work, is to look at that motivation. And ultimately what to do is to have our actions be without motive. So no object to acquire by doing an action, nor is there any loss by not doing an action, so that you're not avoiding things by not doing them. Nor has he to depend on anybody for anything. And so often we feel in our lives that how we live our life is dependent on those around us. But yogis would say, no, as you grow as a karma yogi, then that disappears. You're not depending on those around you. You're depending entirely on your relationship with the divine. And that's why it's a brand new life, not just being a nicer person. And, when you think about it, when you're asleep, you're fine, you're self-sufficient, you don't need anything. But that's an unconscious state. And so for a yogi, and it's temporary, you wake up, now you're back to all your desires again. But the spiritually enlightened person enjoys infinite blessings. There is nothing to be attained. And you don't get there by thinking, well, I'll attain this first, and I'll attain that, and I'll attain the other. And then when I've attained everything I'm looking for, then I can let go of my selfish motive. There is no end to selfish motive. So going out and attaining things or avoiding things, it doesn't help us. If you want to be a karma yogi, you start now. You start today. You think, the next thing I do, may I do it without selfish motive. And the effort of doing that and living your life more that way is in itself the reward. So a spiritually enlightened person enjoys infinite blessings, nothing to be attained, never again lost, nothing to seek from man or from God. So this is an incredibly high state. Nothing to seek from man or God. Can you imagine the level of peace when we're not chasing the elusive? Ramakrishna says, one of the signs of the enlightened man is that he is enjoying boundless bliss within himself. The surface of the ocean seems boisterous, might be doing things in the world, but underneath all is calm. Such is the state of the yogi. And in the next verse of the Gita, it says, therefore, constantly perform your obligatory duty. So, this doesn't mean you sit and do nothing. Constantly perform your obligatory duty without attachment. For by doing duty without attachment, man truly attains the supreme. And so it's a question for each of us, can you, in the middle of all our activities in the world, driven by our desires, our responsibilities, can we really be absorbed in our true self? Is it possible to live that way? And so yogis would say, yes, it is. And that the great Raja rishis, a very famous one was King Janaka, that these great souls, these great saints, they surrendered their will to the divine will. That sounds, I think that sometimes surrendering your will sounds like, don't fancy the sound of that. But what you're doing is recognizing that the desires of the ego, the will of the ego isn't the will of your true self. It's the will of desire and fear. It's the will of the part of your being that's afraid, the part of your being that is unfulfilled and is searching for fulfillment. So what you're doing is saying, I let go of that. And I ask that what I do in life comes not from my desires, from the ego, but from my true self, from my soul. And if you're a devotee, from the Lord of your heart. So they surrender their will to divine will, where everything they do is yagyan, this selfless offering to the divine. And so these great rishis, they were doing their activities like King Janaka. He was active and efficient in his administration of his kingdom. He did actions to support the welfare of the people. He considers himself not their ruler, but their servant. And behind that all the time is the recognition that life is more than that. And these great souls gently applied themselves in everything they did to this quest for self-knowledge. And yogis would say, and they got there. They became able to live this wonderful, wonderful life. And I just thought I would read this from the Gospel of Ramakrishna because it's so wonderful and so clarifying for us as devotees. Because, when you think about how am I going to do things without selfish motive? I think I'm doing good in the world, and then it turns out maybe I'm not. And we're all aware of that, the effort that you put in at times to be of service to other people. But when it's driven by the ego, we're wanting a result. We don't think we do, but we want a result from that. And usually you only notice it when you don't get what you wanted. You think you're going along being generous and selfless, and then people aren't valuing and appreciating you. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, why am I doing all this? Well, if you're doing it without motive, with selfless motive, then you are unattached to that outcome. If people don't appreciate it, you didn't do it to be appreciated. You did it to be of service. And the interesting thing is the deeper you can come from your soul, the better attuned you are. And so anyway, I thought I'd read this from Ramakrishna because it talks about that. Because a devotee says to him, he says, you know, do you mean to say that we're to give up all work in the world until we see God, unless we have this deep relationship? You know, are we supposed to just sit there and wait for that to happen and not do anything in the world? And so Ramakrishna says, no, my dear sir, why shall you give up all work, meditation, chanting of hymns, repeating his holy name, and other devotional exercises? You must go through them. And the devotee says, well, I really meant work connected with the world. Are we supposed to give that all up? And so Ramakrishna says, no, you may attend to them too, just as much as you cannot do without. So just as much as you really have to in order to live in this world. Okay, so we can get to go out and do the things that we need to do. But that doesn't mean we're out in the world all the time. And he goes on to say, but you should at the same time pray to the Lord with tears in your eyes for his grace and for strength to do your duties without the expectation of any reward or fear of punishment in this world or in the next. Gosh, you know, whatever tradition you were brought up in, for so many of us, we really did expect that we would be punished either here and now, or if not now, you know, in the next world. Can you imagine what it would be like to live your life without that expectation? It would be magnificent. So, without fear of punishment in this world or the next, say when you pray, Lord, grant that my work in the world and for the world may grow less and less day by day. For I see that my work growing manifold, so getting bigger, only makes me lose sight of you. So the busier we are in the world, especially when that busyness is from our own selfish motive, all unbeknownst to us. I mean, this is Ramakrishna, the great yogi. He says, sometimes I think I do my duties remaining unattached to the world, but I know not how I deceive myself and do them through attachment instead. I do my alms, and behold, I seek for fame. Oh, I know not how. So those are the words, that's part of a prayer to God. You know, I thought I was doing it unselfishly, and now I see, because of my own reaction to the fruits of what I did, that I was not unattached. So he says, you must be unattached while doing good to others, and be careful to take up only such works as come in your way, such works again as appear to be of a pressing necessity. Don't seek them. Don't seek more work than you can well manage, for if you do, you will lose sight of the Lord. I mean, so powerful, so powerful. Now, in this world, it seems like things are so busy and we have so much to do. But the more you attune with your soul and the calmer you get, the more peace you experience. And like it says here, more bliss. And at that point, what does your soul want to do? You know, your soul doesn't think it can solve everything for everyone else. So yes, there'll be times when you feel that you want to reach out and be of service, but you want that to come from your relationship with God, your relationship with your soul, not from the ego's desire for people to think how wonderful you are. So thinking of King Janaka and the way he lived his life as a karma yogi. The Gita goes on, the commentary says, but the ignorant can't guide society, for it's the blind leading the blind. It's the enlightened that are the best servants of humanity. You know, so I know that a lot of people and a lot of you out there want to be of service, but it is worth remembering that it's the enlightened who are the greatest servants of humanity. And so time spent attuning, becoming more enlightened is valuable not just for you, but for all humanity. For the enlightened can work in harmony with spirit. Those who are not enlightened, ordinary people, most of us, don't often emulate the great souls. Why? Because we lapse easily into idleness, laziness, doing nothing, procrastination, avoiding things, and indifference to our duty. So we know things we need to do. You know the things you need to do on a daily basis, but are you indifferent? Do you not really care about them? Do you not care about doing them well? And so I thought we would just take a minute, 2 minutes, and just think about these things. Just pick the one that resonates the most for you. Which one describes your state of mind? You know, which of these has the most profound effect on you? Is it this idleness? Is it procrastination? Is it indifference, not caring? So just close your eyes and consider what impact these tendencies have on you, and strive to sense what it would be like without those. Now let's just follow this contemplation into meditation. Meditating in your own way, but as best you can, meditating without selfish motive. See if you can just let it go. Oh. And now allowing any blessings or insights from this meditation, let it become part of your whole being. Excuse me. Let it come down through your intuition, your thoughts, your feelings, your life force, your breath, and into your physical body as you tense and relax your arms and legs. And then just tilting from side to side, making smaller and smaller arcs until you're sitting straight, dropping your chin to your chest, and either just moving your head from side to side or making full circles in one direction and then in the opposite direction. As long as you don't have any neck problems. And then gently opening your eyes. What a different life it would be if we didn't have these tendencies to procrastinate and relax, do nothing. I'm not saying you shouldn't relax, but it should be a choice. It shouldn't be an avoidance. To realize that if there's something that needs to be done, you can, from your soul, get up with joy and do it instead of sitting, waiting, putting it off, avoiding it. A wonderful way to live a life on purpose. As we more and more learn to live from our souls, becoming karma yogis, yogis of selfless service. Namaste.